Two identical cars roll off the same assembly line on the same day. 10 years later, one is crushed into scrap at 120,000 miles. The other glides past 300,000, still running strong. They were built exactly the same. So what actually decides which cars die young and which ones seem to last forever? To understand it, meet Irv Gordon. In 1966, he bought a modest Volvo sports car. By the time he passed away, he had driven that single car more than 3.2 million miles, enough to circle the 130 times. It still holds the world record. His Volvo was not magic. It came off an ordinary production line like millions of others. The difference was not the car. It was almost everything that happened after he drove it home. People love to argue about brands and luck, but the truth is simpler and a little boring. The number one thing that decides how long an engine lives is oil. Engine oil is not just slippery liquid. It carries away heat, flushes out microscopic metal particles, and keeps a thin protective film between parts that are moving thousands of times a second. As oil ages, it breaks down and fills with grit and sludge. Skip enough oil changes and that protective film thins until metal grinds directly on metal. The damage is invisible at first, then suddenly permanent. Modern synthetic oils last far longer than the oils of decades past. But they are not immortal, and the single most common way people quietly destroy an engine is simply going too long between changes. Irv Gordon changed his oil obsessively, far more often than the manual demanded. That one humble habit, more than anything else, is what carried him past 3 million miles. The second great engine killer is heat. An engine that overheats even once can warp its cylinder head or crack vital parts, and no oil change can undo that. Yet the cooling system is the part owners ignore the most. A slow coolant leak, a tired water pump, a radiator clogged with age. None of them feel urgent, until the temperature needle swings into the red on a hot day and a healthy engine is ruined in minutes. The cars that survive are the ones whose owners treat a rising temperature gauge as an emergency, not a suggestion. But the engine is only half the story. Right beside it sits the part that quietly ends more cars than people realize. The transmission. Automatic transmissions are astonishingly complex, packed with gears, clutches, and fluid channels, all bathed in a special oil of their own. Many owners never touch that fluid because the manual calls it lifetime filled. In reality, transmission fluid also breaks down with heat and age, and once it does, the gears and clutches inside begin to wear and slip. A neglected transmission can fail so expensively that the repair costs more than the entire car is worth, and that is the moment a perfectly good vehicle gets sent to the scrapyard. The long-lasting cars are the ones whose owners quietly changed that fluid anyway. Here is something that surprises people. Not all miles are equal. 100,000 highway miles are far gentler on a car than 100,000 city miles. On the highway, the engine warms up once and then cruises at a steady, low-stress temperature for hours. In the city, it is all short trips, constant cold starts and stop-and-go grinding. A cold engine is a poorly lubricated engine, and every cold start also lets moisture condense inside, slowly encouraging rust and sludge. This is why a car with 200,000 relaxed highway miles can be far healthier than one with 80,000 brutal city miles. The odometer alone never tells the whole story. Of course, engineering does matter. Some cars are simply designed to go the distance. A big reason certain engines outlive others comes down to a small part hidden inside, the timing chain. Many long-lasting engines use a metal timing chain, which is built to survive the entire life of the car. Cheaper or sportier designs often use a rubber timing belt instead, which must be replaced every 60 to 100,000 miles, and if a belt snaps, it can destroy the whole engine in an instant. Brands famous for reliability, like Toyota, tend to favor proven, simple, slightly overbuilt technology over the newest and most complex. Fewer clever parts means fewer things that can fail. This is also why some of the newest, most advanced engines can actually be less durable than older ones. Small turbocharged engines and high-pressure direct injection squeeze out impressive power and fuel economy, but they run under enormous stress, with more parts, more heat, and more ways to break down over the long haul. Simplicity, it turns out, is one of the great secrets of longevity. And then there is the enemy that has nothing to do with the engine at all: rust. In many parts of the world, cars do not die because the engine gives up. They die because the body and frame quietly corrode away beneath them, eaten by road salt and moisture over the years. You can have a perfect, healthy engine bolted into a chassis that is no longer safe to drive. That is why the longest-living cars often come from dry climates, and why washing the underside of your car in winter is not vanity. It is life support for the metal. So which cars last 300,000 miles? Not the luckiest ones and not always the most expensive. Study the vehicles that routinely cross that line, and you find the same pattern again and again. They tend to be simpler designs with proven engines, driven by people who never skip the boring maintenance. The survivors are the cars whose owners treated the small, dull rituals as non-negotiable. Regular oil, fresh fluids, A watch temperature gauge. Small problems fixed while they are still small before they cascade into big ones. The machine sets the ceiling, but the owner decides how close you ever get to it. Irv Gordon's Volvo proved it perfectly. In the end, the car was completely ordinary. It was the care that was extraordinary. Subscribe for more of the hidden engineering that decides how the world around you really works.